I was going to tell you all about the song, but I'm sure the message and the music went straight to your hearts. It became the country music song of the year, album of the year in 2006. And Rolling Stone put it as one of the top 20 sad songs of country music. But I'm here today not to talk about sadness, but to talk about what I believe. The song is special to me because it resonates with my upbringing. When I was a young child, my mother used to send me over to a retired neighbor's house to help out. Mr. Willard was the neighbor who became my friend. I would do chores around his house, and sometimes for fun, we'd go out to the movies with his lady friend, June, or Junebug, as he used to call her. He would tell me stories about life in the trenches back when he was in World War I, and later, all of the traveling around the world that he did. Over time, I learned about the hardships that he had faced, the family members and loved ones that he had lost. But he was always such a happy, peaceful guy. When I asked him what his secret to happiness was, he smiled and told me that he believed there was a better life coming in heaven and that he would meet his old friends and family. I always admired the old man's faith, courage, and strength of conviction. The song reminds me of his gentle ways, that I always felt that life was a grand adventure for him. Later on in my adult years, I found out that he had passed away. Naturally, I felt devastated. It was like a family member had died. And unlike Mr. Willard, I didn't have that inner conviction about much of anything. I really didn't know what to believe. So like many men, I just sort of compartmentalized my emotions. You see, growing up in my family, we had our share of issues. I'd love to tell you that my household was like an episode out of Happy Days or Leave It to Beaver, with doubting parents offering good advice to the kids. But my family life was more like the Archie Bunker show. Dad could play a convincing Archie Bunker with my mom off to the side, wringing her hands just like Edith. And guess what? I was the meathead. It was the late 60s, and we were at opposite ends of everything. Fashion, politics, the war in Vietnam, everything. His favorite thing to say was, "Get a haircut, hippie." Well, somehow Dad and I worked out our differences. I went away to college and eventually went into the family business as an SOB, or son of a boss. We were in the business of manufacturing printed supplies to churches of all denominations. The thing that really got me, though, was I knew that Dad and I didn't have a firm spiritual upbringing. Although he'd been raised a Catholic, I don't think I remember him going to church with Mom, myself, and the kids more than once or twice. So I really didn't feel that we had the spiritual foundation that all of our customers did. I kind of felt that we were hypocrites masquerading as religious people. Eventually, our company fell on hard times and we had to close our doors. But open or not, Dad kept coming into the office. One icy day, several years ago, he suffered a major slip and fall, which left him bedridden with incomplete memories and stroke-like physical issues. Over time, his personality seemed to change, Instead of being the crabby, judgmental old man, he became more childlike. Every day was a new adventure for him. But as his body weakened and his trips to the ER became more frequent, he began to fear death. You know, for me, not having grown up in a spiritual household, I was sort of left to find my own way. And I visited many, many churches, from Baptist to Hindu, Buddhist, you name it. I was at a spiritual buffet, trying this and trying that, and always admiring the strong beliefs that people had. When I came to spirituality, I had a lot of background in meditation, in life on a higher plane, but I hadn't really put it all together. And, you know, in our religion, the declarations of principles 4 and 5 state that we affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual continues after the change called death, and that we affirm that communication with the so-called dead is a fact, scientifically proven by the phenomena of spiritualism. Or, to paraphrase it, we never die. And spiritualism proves that we can talk to people in the spirit world. Well, these words all sounded good, but until I started working with my beautiful and gifted wife, Michelle, I didn't feel these words. And then an amazing thing happened. As we worked the psychic shows and expos over the last 6 years, I've witnessed firsthand the transformational effects that Michelle's healing words have on people looking to speak with loved ones in spirit. When she brings them in to talk to the sitter, you can just feel the love and compassion coming through. That they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that their loved ones are alive and well. And the look in their eyes, it's like they've had a glimpse of heaven. And I've had the privilege of seeing this hundreds of times. So back to Dad. About 10 years ago, I had broached the subject of Dad's final wishes with him. Well, he answered in a very evasive way, saying, well, what do I care? When I'm dead, I'm dead. Which told me that he really feared death and didn't want to discuss the matter. So, because of that Catholic upbringing that he had, I'm sure his fear of death was keeping him alive in the physical world. But as his body was giving out on him, he was practically helpless. My friend, Reverend Elizabeth Brown, had kindly shared with me about her final days with her mom and how she had offered words of encouragement for her mother to go into the light. I knew what I needed to do. On my last visit to see my father while he was in intensive care, I discovered that I had the convictions of my faith. As I leaned over him, I told him, Dad, it's okay to go in the light. It really is okay. Your parents, your friends, they're all waiting for you. That it was just okay to let go. Dad passed peacefully 2 days later. In closing, I want to share an interpretation of points 8 and 9 of the Declaration of Principle. And this is by Joseph Whitwell, who was the third NSAC president, which speaks to the concept of heaven and hell. We discard entirely the terrible, wrong, and illogical teachings of eternal damnation, and in place thereof, we accept and present for consideration of thinking people the thought of the continuity of life beyond the change called death. A natural life where the opportunity for growth and progress to better, higher, and more spiritual conditions are open to all, even as they are here on earth, on the earth plane of life. We accept no such teachings as a hellfire, but we do teach that sin and wrongdoing will necessarily bring remorse and suffering that would be difficult to describe in words, and which can only be relieved by the individual's own efforts, if not here, then in the hereafter. If we make our own lives better while we're here and that of our neighbor happier, we shall unfold that happiness or heaven on earth, which we shall share with us into the spirit world. Thus, we affirm our beliefs in and acceptance of the truths and assertions that prophecy and mediumship are not unique nor recent occurrences, but are universal, everlasting, and have been witnessed and observed all the ages of the world. I believe. Thank you.